일단 관중들이 많은 호응을 해줘가지고 제가 이마대 프로 하는구나 딱 느꼈어요.
When I'm here standing in front of all the fans and all the supporters, I feel like I'm a pro gamer.
일단 이렇게 많은 관중들 앞에서 경기할 수 있다는 게 굉장히 영광스럽고 꼭 이겨서 우승하고 싶어요.
I am very thanks to be in front of all of you, and I want to win, and I thank you.
I think it's clear that both of you gentlemen want to win. And I know both of you expect to win. I know there's something too that you both want to share with the audience. So please take the microphone and tell them exactly what you want to say.
한마디 하세요.
Voy a ganar, gracias.
I told her, can I have a lucky kiss?
I guess that did it for you guys. Well, gentlemen, let's not delay this any further. May shake hands. Let's get this battle underway. Kevin, Apollo, for the final games of the night, it's all up to you.
Holy tap dancing Christ, how do we follow this up? Adebisi goes full alpha male. That man's got sandals and alcohol backstage for days, apparently. And ForGG gets a kiss on stage. Where do we even go from here?
I don't know what just happened on stream. Things just went crazy. TaeJa speaking Spanish, Hero speaking Spanish, ForGG kissing Rachel, Adebisi gone crazy. Oh my god, that only means one thing. It is time for a DreamHack Finals.
All right, well, Adebisi, warm up your bottle of vodka because you've got some observing to do. We've got a 5-game TBT on our hands now as Liquid TaeJa squares off against Millennium ForGG. There is a 70,000 Swedish krona first prize on the line. ForGG getting some chance from the crowd, and I am pumped for this match.
I am very, very excited to get this underway. It is going to be a best of 5 throughout the tournament. We have seen best of 3s, but now in the grand final where all the money is on the line, both of these players have qualified to play for the DreamHack Winter Final. So if you are going to Stockholm, if you are going for Sweden, you will see them there. But now it is to determine who is going in the history books, who is going to be a DreamHack champion.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started here soon. As you mentioned, so much on the line still, but these guys are going to be represented at DreamHack Winter. They're going to be joining a number of great players: Thorzane, Polt, Demaga, Mana. Now we can add ForGG and TaeJa to that list.
The prize pool for first place is 70,000 krona. Basically that is $10,000 just about. Second place is $6,000. So they're playing for a difference of $4,000. A massive amount of money on this best of 3. These two players actually played against each other not even that long ago in the Aces Republica Gamers held in Finland. And we actually saw TaeJa really indeed beat down ForGG. It was a 3-1 victory, and it is now the chance for ForGG to be able to pull that back and get his revenge here.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to jump into the game, and at the top right-hand corner of Cloud Kingdom, we have our Red Terran player from Millennium. Just getting a kiss on the cheek from Rachel. It's ForGG! And down at the bottom left-hand corner is his opponent, our blue Terran player, one of the best players in the world right now. It's Liquid TaeJa!
Both of these guys have an absolutely fantastic run through this tournament. They are in the finals for a very solid reason, but now it is time to crown a DreamHack champion. There are not that many of them, and one of them will have that name forever in the history of DreamHack StarCraft 2 tournaments. Is it going to be Liquid's TaeJa, who has actually won in the previous 2 months running up to this event? He has won 2 tournaments in 2 months. Can he steal a hat trick of 3 events in 3 months, or is his opponent, ForGG, going to be able to claim his first StarCraft 2 Premier Tournament?
All right. Well, ForGG, of course, known for his very aggressive style, and I would expect nothing different here. He's getting gassed. I'm not shocked in any way, shape, or form. TaeJa has bypassed that for the time being. You know, normally we talk about long TVT best ofs. You think they can stretch for a very long time. ForGG has his way. I don't know if we're going to be here for all that long.
No, this is going to be a short and sweet series, no matter which way it falls down. ForGG loves to end it fast, and he will always bring a unique build to every single game. I wouldn't be surprised if every single map that we're going to play out here, if it goes to full distance, we see something different from ForGG, as he's already opening up with that refinery, looking towards going straight for that factory.
And once again, TaeJa putting down that perfect stars. He has in almost every game so far. He himself going after a 1-rack gasless fast expand, saving up quickly towards those 400 minerals that he is required to place down the next CC. So otherwise, TaeJa's got a great read on what his opponent is doing. ForGG gets in and gets a look at his opponent, sees that there's going to be no gas here. ForGG himself opening with a tech lab, though, on the barracks.
Yeah, a little bit different this time around. Previously, when we saw him play, he did rush straight for that factory, and unfortunately for the SCV of TaeJa, it is actually, there it does fall down, and with that SCV being nailed down against the wall, TaeJa actually doesn't know what he's playing against here. So we're actually seeing a tell up on the barracks instead of a factory initially. And this is going to come as a surprise for TaeJa, who will not take the usual precautions you would do upon seeing a tech lab coming down. The usual precautions would be Marines at the back of the base expecting the Reaper to jump in. And now the Reaper's actually going to have, and I'm really sure it's going to have really ease of access towards the mineral line. And if he's able to start to bring down the SCV count whilst expanding in his own, which he's going to do here, he could naturally gain a small advantage and a small lead in this first game of the best of 5.
And there's a lot of cliff line for Reapers to be able to exploit here, so we'll see what TaeJa does, or where he's going to have his Marines positioned, because he's going to need to be vigilant with his defense. He does have a factory on the way. Of course, ForGG already dumping the next 100 gas into Stimpack, not producing a second Reaper, going to be content with just the first one to put on some pressure.
All right, well, let's see how many SCVs he can snag here. None of them have actually taken any damage yet, but the Reaper's going to make its way in. The Marines are not in too bad of a position here. The Reaper shoots down. TaeJa's reaction not the fastest, and he's going to start to push this back. The Reaper doesn't get anything there, unfortunately for ForGG. He does manage to scout, though, the reactor on the barracks and the factory coming down, as well as the double gas. So even though he didn't manage to hurt the economy, he was able to get good scouting intel instead of using that 50 energy from a Noble Command, which could be used for Mule instead.
He does have a bunker coming up at the front. TaeJa, that is. ForGG, of course, just powering ahead with his strategy, sitting on 1 gas for the time being. He has good control of the Zelnaga towers, but yeah, interesting he decided to go right after those Marines and was pushed back right away. As we can see, though, TaeJa, with plenty of gas, is going up to a Tech Lab starport, and we're going to see Banshees here very, very quickly.
And for TaeJa, indirectly, he actually already knows what ForGG's doing, because if you think about where does a Reaper come from, it's going to come from the Tech Lab, and the smoothest transition of going for a barracks in Tech Lab is to get Stim or Combat Shield initially, and most likely just to follow up with simple biological unit play. So he's probably already expecting those Marines to be starting to come out. And what we're actually going to see from TaeJa is a Viking and tank production very early on here. He could actually utilize any form of early pushes, and if he doesn't go for any form of pushes, he can use those tanks with siege mode in taking a very fast third base, knowing that Marines are incredibly weak at the early stages against siege tanks in position.
And he's hiding the siege tanks for now. Looks like the Reaper did actually get cleaned up by the Marines, so nothing really in position to scout this. I mean, if a scan comes down, it would be revealed. Oh no, actually he flips over and does move over to that. That's what I was expecting before, but it looks like he delays it for a bit. Cloak Banshees now on their way.
Yeah, so we didn't keep up with the tank production, and like you said, switched up the factory with the starport, and we'll go into, by the looks of it, tank production a little bit later on here. But with the Banshees coming out here, the problem for TaeJa is that ForGG already has an engineering bay. He already is going to have Stim and combat shields before the Banshees even arrive in. So I'm not too sure if this investment of money that TaeJa's throwing into Banshees and Cloak will pay off, because throwing that gas in there, that's, for example, 2 to 3 tanks less that TaeJa is not going to have anymore. We do see TaeJa with a scan inside the main base that does reveal that the biological play is going to be played out here. Unfortunately for ForGG, he has no information on what this could actually mean. He knows that double gases are taken and it could be Cloak Banshee, but through having the Zelnaga Tower on the south side and through having scans available or will have available in a short amount of time, Combat Shield Marines, they shouldn't really have a problem against this Banshee.
But fortunately for ForGG, he does invest in his upgrades very early on. He went double engineering bait to start. He's already well into +1 armor. He's got combat shields just about to finish up, and he already did stim earlier. So he is going to be able to hit with a massively powerful attack in the short term. Let's see, though, how well he can defend against these Banshees.
Oh, and ForGG does not have a scan right now. He will do in a couple of moments' time. 10 energy's time. He's just going to push this Banshee back for now. But at the same time, ForGG is pushing through the door. Remember, he has stim. Remember, he has combat shields. There is a bunker and a handful of Marines here. But with stim and combat shields, he could do damage to the tank. Sieges out just in the nick of time and will push that back.
ForGG did a nice job of bringing his Marines back so he wouldn't take as much damage from that tank. And it looks like he's going to be able to pick up this Banshee. Yes, just at the edge of the scanned vision there. But, you know, unfortunately, he wanted to be able to bust through. If there was just a bunker there, it actually wouldn't have been that big of a deal. Oh, look at that, a second catch as well. ForGG on top of his scans.
Wow, really nice play there by ForGG, and those Banshees did not get enough damage done. They're all actually looking at it. They did kill 7 SCVs. I didn't realize they killed that many SCVs. So that's actually not bad in this game to get 7 SCVs, and we do see TaeJa with a slight SCV lead. The problem is now, look at the upgrade lead that ForGG's established with so early on engineering base. He's at 1-1. He's going to be able to go to 2-2 very shortly, and we are going to have the same, basically the same unit composition, but look how far behind the engineering base are. Look how far behind everything's really here for TaeJa going through Cloak. If he had not have gone Cloak, if he had not have gone for those Banshees, potentially he could have had already 1-1 out himself.
ForGG, though, will be able to catch up in tanks eventually. That's the one thing that's really lacking from him at the moment. No tanks, no factory with a tech lab capable of producing tanks at the moment. He will be able to switch into those momentarily, but he is going to fall behind in that regard. It's going to make any sort of an attack a little bit harder to pull off because of the defensive position that TaeJa will have. But, man, I'll trade that for those upgrades and for the amount of production he'll have here in a bit.
And that factory, I think that's a mistake there. That needs to get back on that tech lab. As you said, he needs to get his tanks out immediately.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it looks like ForGG in a second now should go and take a third base. With taking a third base, he'll have extra set of income to throw into his second factory. And there's the SCV, I think, that's going to throw down that third base inside the main. And now he will very shortly add on extra production, a secondary factory to really push forward to a very intensive Marine tank heavy army.
Third command center is coming down for both players at the moment, and both started at about the same time, so there's not going to be too big of a difference there. Of course, TaeJa does pick up on the fact that it's not built down over at the low ground, but that's really all the information he's going to be able to gain. 2-2 upgrades well on the way for ForGG at the moment, and he is, or TaeJa is going to have a little bit of time where he's going to be on even upgrades with his opponents, but if he's not diligent in keeping those up, ForGG will have a massive advantage.
So even though we see the supply relatively equal, ForGG does have an advantage, and he has the advantage in terms of map control. He has the presence of the map. He has a faster third base coming down very slightly here, and a really commanding upgrade lead. But TaeJa's going to have to do something to crawl back into this game, because he also realizes that he is playing a little bit behind here. And that is what this drop on the right-hand side is going to do. It's actually going to go ahead and drop onto the natural. And ADBC did show us there, there's 2 armories coming down, which is a mistake there by TaeJa, and he did actually cancel that second armory.
Okay, so everything all sorted out. Now, TaeJa is usually very good about investing into his upgrades for his mech units as he goes along, even when he's playing the biomech style, so he should be able to continue with that pretty effectively. Trying to get a place to drop here, but there's already units in position for ForGG. ForGG also moving up to a second factory as well, so he can catch up in tanks overall, and that's the one real advantage that TaeJa has at the moment, that if ForGG messes up on attack or any sort of an aggressive play, just wastes his units on the sea tanks of his opponents, he'll certainly still have a chance.
And TaeJa knows that ForGG's pushing across the map now. What is he going to do with these handful of Marines on the natural? He should be going straight for the mineral line on the natural. The stim is activated, but ForGG knows about it. He stims and has 2 tanks there, and with the upgrade leading a couple of medevacs, he should be able to hold on to this just about.
Oh, great job picking up the hurt tanks into the medevac, and he picks off the medevac as it's running out of there, so ForGG with a brilliant display of micro there, making sure that he doesn't take any damage.
ForGG is playing the tournament of his life at the moment. He's about to go ahead and take a third base, and at the same time, he's actually going to start to take really strong presence on the map. He has 2-2 finish. Immediately should be starting 3-key to really keep up with the advantage he's gained. Right now, 1-1 for TaeJa, 2-2 for ForGG. Any engagement that's going to happen here, ForGG will win unless he's caught under the tank rain of damage. TaeJa has to take his third base, but actually has to stay close to his third base because he doesn't have map control. At any point in this game with those upgrades, ForGG could run in, stim, snipe that command center, naturally leading TaeJa into a more defensive position.
And 3 3-3 is on the way for ForGG, and he's going to start rolling his way up. He decides to stamp, pick off as many Marines in the front as he can. He gets away. He loses about 6 Marines to a big shell from a tank, but otherwise doesn't take too much damage, trying to fall back to his own prepared tank position, which admittedly only contains a couple of tanks.
3 medivacs compared to 7 there, so a big lead for ForGG. 7 tanks versus 4, 6 medivacs versus 4 as well, so you can see the difference there, the 2 players. And right now, it is going to be a battle of position, and ForGG is going to try and take position on TaeJa's third base, but he's going to approach from the south side. TaeJa with 2 Stim Marines does know about that and is already setting up a defensive stance, and unfortunately for ForGG, that will not work. With defensive tanks already set up, it's pretty much impossible to break it.
Now, TaeJa was quite supply blocked. He had to put up 3 supply depots at the exact same time in order to free this up, and his resources were really banked throughout that. So he'll move back into unit production, but that did temporarily allow ForGG to pull ahead and supply. He's going to move right into this tank line, though. He picks off a couple of the tanks, but ForGG has lost a few Marines here. TaeJa's starting to slowly push that back, but ForGG does have a nice position, able to start sieging up this gas off to the side of the third.
Yeah, nice position for sure, and he actually has a flanking maneuver to these tanks in a couple of seconds' time. He's got a bunch of Marines and a siege tank. He may run into the tanks on the low ground that are protected. He actually scans ahead of time and realizes that at the same time, we have these 2 drops that actually loses a drop full of Marines to a turret.
Oh, and ForGG only has 1 tank sieged up, and TaeJa's going to take advantage of this and continue to press on, and this could be devastating for ForGG.
Oh, and ForGG has to turn around and fight. He knows he's going to lose everything, even brings in some reinforcements, and he does manage to push this back. Remember, the upgrade lead is actually is equal at the moment, and ForGG does push that back, but because of the tank setup there, that really won't work. They're very close game by both of these players, and TaeJa is actually pushing towards his third base. That gets pushed back. Both of these players playing incredibly fast, pushing over that 250 actions per minute mark.
All right, so this has already been a crazy amount of action so far. Both these players giving up a little bit of ground to each other. Bit questionable decision-making. TaeJa was able to pursue the units from ForGG, but committed just a little bit too much. Not that he could have known that there were units dropping in right then, and ForGG was able to start to win back some of that supply he had earlier lost. Now, though, 3-3 upgrades are just about to finish for ForGG. Resources lost so close, only 84 different between our 2 players.
3-3 is about to finish here for ForGG. Doesn't quite have the tank lead, though. That's one thing that TaeJa does lead with 9 compared to 8. Only a small difference. And, TaeJa's moving up this left-hand side here. There is no scouting information for ForGG. TaeJa could basically just walk up and siege up on that third base. And TaeJa scans and sees ForGG is out of position. TaeJa is stimming. He's going to try and bring down that third command center, and it will fall easily.
And ForGG's retreating as fast as he can, but TaeJa's already done so much damage. There is a base being constructed off to the right-hand side for ForGG that he'll be able to fall back on in a bit, but the damage has already been done, and ForGG is fighting not on the high ground here. His tanks are on siege. TaeJa able to snipe a couple of those out, then draws the forces back into his own tank line, starting to siege up that natural, going to put on a little bit of pressure by dropping into the main as well, really forcing the action nicely.
And TaeJa's got positional advantage here over ForGG, which is ForGG's mistake for not having any intel on that left-hand side of the map. And now Marines inside the main base, bringing down the starport. The medivacs are now going to be halted. Supply depots falling down, and TaeJa has just put his opponent in check.
And we'll see if ForGG can start to break his way out. Like I said, he did just finish up another command center off to the right, but TaeJa has almost complete control of the map. He's killing all these supply depots, and that alone is going to be so annoying for ForGG to deal with.
And ForGG says, all right, screw you. I'm going to set up siege tanks. I'm going to defend my main and natural, and then I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your bases as he moves across the map. And right now, TaeJa has to set up a defense at home on this third base. 2 tanks and a bunch of Marines, and ForGG's going to try and break it.
Yes, he is, but he's running smack dab into 2 siege tanks that are already prepared for him. He hasn't been able to go through those quite yet, but he has so many Marines left over that he can just brute force his way through his opponent's forces.
Oh, and we're going to see this weird little switch up of bases right now. Another third does go down, and ForGG should want to elevate into the main base to stop the tank production. At the same time, he wants to bring down that 4th base, and right now, locked stalemate between both of these guys. Incredibly close. Look at the supply. It's actually the same.
It's dead even at the moment. TaeJa did get in his position a little bit quicker, but ForGG's been able to stabilize. And there's that planetary fortress off to the right that I was talking about. So he does have a third base to fall back on. TaeJa, no such base.
No such base at all. Nothing. No base anywhere. The only command center he has alive is his main and natural. And as you say, that's going to play a big part in this game. And TaeJa has no idea about it yet. He is sending a Marine down the right-hand side to go check. And now TaeJa is lifting up his main, will plant it down. Is this Marine actually going to find out about this command center? Because that will actually give a lot of information over to TaeJa.
All right, well, ForGG starting to slowly move ahead in supply once again, but don't forget, so many supply depots went down. He's a bit supply locked. TaeJa was thinking about dropping, but now this could be disastrous. No, ForGG not quite able to get there in time, and these forces are being chased away. Oh, but there's Marines coming in from the side as well. He picks off the medevac full of tanks. He's killed almost everything.
And that could be a game-winning move by Millennium ForGG, who's going to have to take a fight here, and he wants to take a fight. He has the better income. He has the bigger army supply at the moment, and TaeJa is on the back foot. ForGG playing, as I said before, a great tournament here in Valencia, and TaeJa does have the high ground at the moment, but still does not know about that right-hand side base, so he may think that right now he has his own third base back up and running, and TaeJa's actually going to retreat here, and that actually not going to help him out too much, knowing that ForGG has now this base mining as well, and all ForGG needs to build is 5 supply depots to open up his supply up to 200, and then just max out as fast as possible.
And he certainly will be able to do just that, producing 13 Marines at a time, tanks and medevacs in addition to that. He's going to establish control of the Zelnaga Tower here in just a bit as well.
Oh, TaeJa's going to find out.
High ground, and yes, he runs into the planetary fortress. There's nothing really he can do about that at the moment.
4 Marines do stim to the SCV line here, and with +3 attack, they're going to bring these down relatively fast. TaeJa finally knows about that base on the right-hand side, so he's actually going to go siege upon it and bring it down, because it is a planetary fortress, it cannot lift up, and TaeJa gets really solid position there.
Yes, he does, and because ForGG have brought so many forces out of position, there's not much he can do about this. TaeJa loses a couple of Marines, but that's it. That's a huge base kill for him.
But the problem is right now, again, ForGG sitting at home with a bunch of tanks defending, while saying now his entire Marine squad to go back to actually attack TaeJa. TaeJa can't attack into that siege tank line. It's too thick.
And as we can see, there's just a couple of tanks inside of the main, so this natural is going to fall very, very quickly. ForGG could run even over to the third and pick off that as well, because TaeJa is just gaining nothing against the prepared defenses for ForGG. ForGG's up by almost 80 supply now, and that's continuing to increase. What a great precision for it. GG! Millennium ForGG takes game number 1. TaeJa said it would be boring if it was a 3-0, but now he's got to come back in a big way.
He has to come back in a best of 5 in front of an audience like this, powering away, giving you the momentum. Things are going to start to bank up for ForGG. He's going to really breathe that victory and get ready for the next map. A great start of this best of 5 grand finals.
All right, congratulations to ForGG there, and what a great way to start as well. It's very back and forth in the middle of that game. There were times when TaeJa, even though he had been playing from behind in terms of the upgrades, he did have the better tank position. He was able to rush forward and kind of cut ForGG's army in half, but wasn't able to do anything with it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, he was always playing at an advantageous position until that very one movement, which almost cost him the game.
Apollo has no words, just immediately speechless right there.
Well, I guess you guys best make a queue. There's going to be a lot of nerds wanting a couple of kisses from Rachel by the end of this, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, going back into that game, ForGG made a single mistake really in that game that really changed how the game flow was going, was not having a Marine, a supply depot, anything, an SCV, just something idle on the left-hand side of the map to know about the movement of TaeJa's army. And apart from that, he looked pretty damn good.
Neither player looking at the replays. We're ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. The countdown is going to begin here in just a second. So who's ready for game number 2 of the finals of DreamHack Valencia? The crowd is ready. I am ready. We're ready for game number 2 here to see if TaeJa can tie things up or if ForGG can keep pushing ahead. And we are in the game. And in the bottom right-hand corner of Ohana, we have our red Terran player from the Team Millennium up 1-0 in this best of 5. It is ForGG. And his opponent in the upper left-hand corner, our blue Terran player trying to tie things up. From Team Liquid, it is TaeJa. Millennium squad is looking very pleased with themselves, sitting in the front couple of rows.
Indeed they are, and you know, Team Liquid squad is looking a little bit worried at the moment as well, with TaeJa trailing with a 0-1. But remember, both of these players have gone through 2 days of 12-hour action per day, going through day 1, a long day, and likewise again here in day 2. And we now see Ohana as the second map. And Ohana is going to be a very dangerous game and map here for TaeJa. And the reason why is because it is a small two-player map, and ForGG is so well known for using a multitude of different aggressive strategies on this map, which is going to be a lot harder to defend because you have less reaction time on a smaller map like this. And already we see the stance set out by ForGG.
Yeah, he's going gas first where his opponent is putting up his barracks, and then gas on normal time afterwards. So it's not like TaeJa's going to be that far behind in tech, but of course ForGG is going to be able to put down a factory as soon as that barracks is finished up.
It seems like TaeJa may be approaching this with a very defensive mindset. Getting that refinery, he's even scouting on the natural to check there's no barracks, because he knows the actual arsenal for ForGG involves a lot of these aggressive plays. So he's checking for one of them on the natural. It would have been that proxy marauder style of play, but he's going to be able to get into the main base and see that refinery first. And with the refinery second, he's actually going to have a slightly better economy than his opponent. He already has an SCV lead over ForGG through going for the refinery later on instead of earlier, and then he will be able to keep travel distance in mind. ForGG, sure, will have a faster factory, sure, he'll have a faster starport, but for the units to travel across the map, that is now neutralized by TaeJa.
And even though this is a quote-unquote smaller two-player map, it is still quite a long walk distance, and it should buy TaeJa enough time with the gas that he's collecting to produce some anti-air if he sees Banshees, to produce a proper counter to whatever build he sees out of his opponent. And there's a factory coming down for TaeJa as well.
And the factory is just, TaeJa's going to play straight up to a starport, straight up, most likely, for a Viking. He's taking the second refinery here. It's going to be very rare for you to go for Cloak Banshees. Maybe against this situation, I feel like it's going to be for a Raven more so than anything else in case of Cloak Banshees. But as we see in ForGG's base, we actually have a tech lab on the barracks and not a second gas taken. So he's changing it up again. And he's going to be putting the factory on here, or starport on here, or factory. It's going to be the factory. What is ForGG looking to build from this? We'll have to find out.
Okay, we'll find out here momentarily.
Ooh,
That's
Blue
Hellion and Blue
Flame.
Flame. It's been a while since TVT has had Blue Flame drops or something along those lines, but it is still a powerful strategy that can catch an opponent off guard. On TaeJa's side of things, a little bit more predictable stuff. 2 gas, he has a starport following this up, tech lab being put down. He may decide to switch it up and go for the tank like we saw last time, but more than likely going to see that Banshee play.
And right now, look at the Marines from TaeJa around the map, just making sure there's no proxy starport anywhere near his base, making sure nothing crazy is coming. But the fact is that something is coming his way, and we are going to see the factory switch over, ready for that starport. Blue Flame Hellions at this stage of the game, all he's looking to do is run up the ramp, annihilate the Marines that don't have combat shields, that don't have upgrades, and then just hit the SCV line as simple as can be, while going for a command center of his own behind this. So he may actually wait for a medivac to try and drop them in case of that. But let's see what TaeJa's going to now use with the gas. Is he going to go for Cloak? He is going to go for Cloak Banshees, but that could present a difficult problem. Oh, look at that actually. He's walking off his front ramp expecting something from ForGG while going for Cloak of his own. And this I really do like, because he's going to go ahead, do damage to ForGG while also playing defensive with this Wharf against units like this. And he already saw them now.
Yes, he did, but thankfully for ForGG, TaeJa actually scouted just before Blue Flame was finished up, so TaeJa still doesn't quite know the extent of what's going to hit him. We do have actually a Viking on the way as well, so just Blue Flame Hellions and Vikings for the time being. ForGG certainly will be able to defend very effectively with this anti-air, but as we can see there, Adebisi pointing out, no scouting done by ForGG whatsoever.
Yeah, he has absolutely no idea really what's going on in this game. So we do have Cloak almost done, and if you think about it, ForGG's not in the worst position because he does have a relatively fast second command center, so a fast second set of scans available. And the only thing that TaeJa needs to be careful of now is a medivac dropping these Blue Flame Hellions. So that's what the Marines are going to do to patrol the outskirts of his base while the Banshee makes its movement in with a Viking and energy available. And ForGG's actually saving energy here and building a Raven.
Exactly, that's it. He's building the Raven right now, so he is going to stay absolutely safe. He may lose a couple of units, like we said, but should be able to recover off that quickly. TaeJa, of course, he's just been sitting on one base for this entire time. And there finally is a command center as soon as I literally say that.
And the investment of Banshees and Cloak is not going to pay off again in this game for TaeJa. And I think the natural transition here for ForGG is to play mech after getting Blue Flame Hellions. It makes a lot of sense for him to do so. But we'll see if he does continue through with this. But with the Raven about to pop out and a Viking there, this Banshee's going to get shut out incredibly easy. And this is a small, or I think it's much bigger than a small victory here. It's quite a big victory here for Millennium's ForGG.
Yeah, and because that's a lot of resources down the drain. Not only is it the 150, 100 for the Banshee itself, but it's 200, 200 for Cloak. And it looks like the Banshee is just going to be able to evade vision, but the Blue Flame Hellions are starting to charge forward. Oh, look at this, though. Another Banshee is actually swinging around from behind the back, so we have two attacks going on at once. Blue Flame Hellions for the front, trying to go through for ForGG, and it looks like he is going to be able to clean out most of what's sitting here from TaeJa, but at the same time, a Banshee is disrupting him back at home.
Sylvies, you gotta run and hide because the Banshees are here to eat you alive, and oh my god, they lose quite a few already, not as much as you'd expect, only 5. That was really close.
It was really close, but TaeJa loses his Banshee a second time, and he's down by 16 supply. He's lost more resources than his opponent, and because of how much later his second base was, he's so far behind in economy.
Yeah, look at that, 43 supply to 56. The command center down and mining for ForGG. Is he going to be playing mech from here? He is indeed going to be playing mech. So natural smooth transition here for ForGG. TaeJa feeling the pressure here.
Yes, he is, and succumbing to it just a little bit, I have to say. ForGG's looked impressive at throwing TaeJa off his game. This little attack isn't going to do as much, even though there's a lot of Hellions there. TaeJa does have enough in the air to be able to repel it.
At least the Banshee's doing something in this game, helping defend more so than anything else. He hasn't really got any aggressive SCVs. He killed only 2 SCVs through double Cloak Banshee. That's not really helping out too much here. And well, let's find out how sorry that ForGG is going to close this up. Does he take a third base now and just say ahead and go ahead and say in this game, well, you actually can't come and attack me. I'm going to take a fast third base. I'm going to defend with my Vikings and Raven. Or is he going to throw down more factories to actually start to build a massive army?
Well, TaeJa's going for mech as well. He's got 2 factories of his own, so a bit of mech versus mech, but of course TaeJa playing from behind in economy, playing from behind in production, behind even in upgrades, as Blue Flame is already finished up for ForGG.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting game with both of these playing mech here. Really interesting, and to be honest, if both of them are playing mech, thinking about the options for ForGG, he absolutely wants to go take a third base now, but little does he know that ForGG, the TaeJa actually is playing mech. As you see through his vision, he has no idea at the moment. He does know that the factory was researching something, but doesn't know the extent of it, and as soon as ForGG knows that he can't really push out because siege tanks, even minimal amounts of units, will hold the line for the majority of the time, but look at how many goddamn Hellions he has there.
Yeah, that's an impressive amount, so he immediately is going to be able to take map presence. Lost a couple of Marines, but then traded for a couple of Hellions. TaeJa with a couple of Hellions of his own at his own Zelnaga Tower, but we'll probably have to run off those pretty quickly here in a bit. So take a look at the unit count here, as there's a considerable Air Force as well. 5 Vikings to 4 in favor of ForGG, 1 Raven apiece, a big tank league, and of course, that massive Hellion advantage.
Is TaeJa going to hold on to this? There is a tank with siege mode. The SCV production has halted here for ForGG, only at 41, and he's building nothing but aggressive units, starting to look forward to this. There's 1 tank, 2 tanks available. A scan goes down for ForGG, and he sees what he's going up against here.
Okay, well, we'll see if it's going to be enough. A pretty good position already there with a point defense drone for ForGG, and he's going to try and pick off the Raven first of all, and he does manage to get it with 2 point defense drones of his own. It allows him to start winning this air war, but what he didn't take care of was the Banshee. The Banshee was able to start picking away at the tanks on the low ground. Despite that, though, ForGG still has such a masterful position underneath the main.
Indeed he does, and more units are streaming across here. This is a 2-base attack from ForGG. Landing Vikings here, going to bring down a factory, has to get back up because there are 2 tanks in good position. A scan goes down on the natural, sees it's relatively weak. Is he going to take the opportunity to run there? There's a handful of Hellions waiting for TaeJa.
He should be able to run by if he wants. He's got such a massive advantage in overall Hellion count, and he may even be able to get that factory. No, repaired up just at the very end by TaeJa, but TaeJa still finds himself at a big disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost the Viking war, he's lost the air war because of the 2-point defense drones. There's a Raven that's backing up money, and the tanks are being pushed back slowly but surely here. TaeJa is under pressure, and he is about to really feel the heat, because in a couple of moments' time, I'm sure that these Vikings are going to start to make a movement and push forward the tank line towards that natural.
TaeJa swinging back in with a Banshee inside of ForGG's base, but that may be a case of just kind of delaying the inevitable. There are no missile turrets here, so this could do quite a bit of damage, but the focus of the action, of course, is going to be ForGG's position outside of TaeJa's base.
TaeJa's had to bunny hop his factories back a couple of levels there, but here comes the movement we talked about. Oh, and hold that thought, though, because this Banshee's picking up a lot of kills, and there's actually no anti-air back at home. TaeJa doing everything that he can to get back into this game.
Yeah, it looks like ForGG starting to get a little bit more aggressive, though, starting to push out just a bit faster. We just took a look at the start board. It's producing Banshees right now. Nothing to be able to combat the... Oh, he's flying Vikings back home. But still, this Banshee's picked up 13 kills.
Wow, that's really helping out TaeJa, bringing the supply very equal once again. And this Banshee's going to finish off with like 17, 18 kills. A scan goes down. This Banshee's going to pick up one last SCV. 19 SCV kills by that Banshee. That was well worth it in that scenario. But the question still remains, can TaeJa break this containment?
I mean, you know, he has graded workers, so if you actually take a look at the total difference in army supply, it's actually pretty devastating at the moment. Yeah, 97 to 41 in favor of ForGG, so he still has a dominating position even after taking that huge amount of economic loss.
And these Hellions are just waiting to get into that SCV line. They want to take this fight. And oh, are we going to see Vikings? What are these Vikings going to do here?
They have the potential to start slowly picking off tanks one by one if they want. Once again, looks like TaeJa going to swing by a couple of Vikings into his opponent's base, trying to break through and do whatever damage he can.
TaeJa just holding the line very well, but a Banshee is now coming into mix with Cloak as well, and that is great use of the Viking, just maintaining the air lead, and now bringing in Banshees. Are going to start to pick off these tanks, and with the tanks falling down, guess what that means?
The Hellions can start rolling through. There are some landed Vikings, and the rest of the tanks are slowly making their way out, but honestly, ForGG could land the rest of his own Vikings here in just a second to continue punishing this, and there he goes. The rest of the forces being obliterated for TaeJa. He's losing all of his SCVs back at home, and ForGG looks to be taking a quick 2-0 in this best-of-5 finals.
Indeed, the SCV line is being compromised. They are all just metal on the floor, and now all of a sudden things are looking pretty bleak here. But 2 Vikings do land in the main base with TaeJa, but 47 supply to 133, 101 army supply as Millennium's ForGG comes rolling in. The shades are on, the window is down, his arms on the side, and he is looking for this victory.
And TaeJa said he didn't want a boring 3-0, but I don't think he considered that there was a possibility it could be a ForGG 3-0. There actually is the GG. TaeJa is down 2-0 in the set. ForGG just 1 game away from taking that 70,000 Swedish krona first prize.
This is looking pretty dominant here by ForGG. Is playing, like I said, I keep on saying it, but this is the best I've seen ForGG. He's looking in great shape. He's been living in France in the Millennium House for a long time, training and playing every single day. And, well, he is now in the grand finals of DreamHack ISO Open live from Valencia, and is now match point away from taking this. And we can see Team Liquid going in there, just kind of comforting TaeJa, saying, all right, you know, you're still a great player. Just stay calm. You know you have a hard road to go down, but you can still do it.
TaeJa's not just a great player, he's absolutely one of the best in the world, and he has found himself in similar positions. He's been able to rally back. If there's any player out there right now that I would want to look at and say, well, you know, you're 0-2, you've got to send in someone to try and make 3 games in a row, TaeJa's probably on that short list.
But against...
but ForGG is just looking dominant.
Yeah, and the thing is that ForGG's style is so good being in match point for 3 games in a row, because he can use 3 different builds and actually pick up 1 of 3 wins, and he wins the entire of the tournament.
Okay, well, TaeJa's just getting prepared at the moment, collecting his thoughts, thinking about what he needs to do. I don't believe he's looking at a replay at the moment, but it looks like he was just taking some advice from a coach there for a second, just kind of settling in his nerves, making sure that he's in for the long haul.
Well, the next map is going to be Daybreak. This should be a map where TaeJa can actually set the anchor down a little bit, slow down the ship of ForGG, which is in cruise mode at the moment, because on Daybreak, it is large. It's a big 2-player map. The aggressive style from ForGG wouldn't be as strong as it has been on the first 2 initial maps.
Okay, so TaeJa's now in the room. We're going to get things started here in just a second. And, man, you know, going into the finals, I thought it was going to be awesome. I thought it was going to be competitive. But ForGG had shown some weakness in this tournament. He was winning his groups 2-1. We mentioned that he was kind of the master of 2-1 before. But then he went through Stefano, and now he's looking absolutely spectacular against TaeJa.
Is he going to pick up his first StarCraft 2 tournament? Well, that is what we are here to find out. The game clock is ticking. We are about to make our way into map number 3. Can Liquid's TaeJa gather the courage to call it back? He's got a long road ahead of him.
Yeah, he does. 3
games in a row, he has to win. And no matter who you are, if you are the best player in the world, it doesn't matter. That is going to be hard.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, at the top right-hand corner of Daybreak. We have our red Terran player up 2-0 in the set. Give a cheer for Millennium ForGG. And his opponent in the lower left-hand corner, our blue Terran player from Team Liquid, trying to break his way back into the set. It is TaeJa.
And like I said, this map should be helping out TaeJa quite a lot. If it was another small map in the map pool that he had to go on, then that makes it a lot difficult. And to actually think about the remaining maps, we have this big map, Daybreak. We then have Antigua's Shipyard. So if TaeJa does win this, it gets a little bit more difficult on Antigua's Shipyard because that is a trademark aggressive Terran versus Terran map. But if he makes it to the final game, it will go on to Metropolis, the biggest map in the map pool. So TaeJa on this map has to play his best, and if he can weather the storm going on for the rest of it, he could be looking good to make the comeback possible.
Now, we have seen that on Metropolis, ForGG has found ways to be very aggressive nevertheless, but we'll see what both players offer now. TaeJa, of course, going for gas first. ForGG bypassing gas at the moment and putting down his barracks, and as Adebisi is pointing out, queuing up another SCV, so it looks like he may be opting for a one-ranks gasless fast expand.
Indeed, so it looks like ForGG is not going to play aggressive on this map. He is going to play very scouting heavy, as we can see with this SCV, making sure that there is no hidden proxy, that he just simply lose the game. And TaeJa, on the other hand, going for a refinery first into barracks. If you think about patterns through ForGG's play, he doesn't really scout very often. So this, well, if that's what TaeJa presumed would happen. But unfortunately, ForGG is going to have an SUV to go in the main base, and it will get in there before any units can be constructed, before this information can be hidden. And ForGG role reversal in this game.
And I love that he's doing that, to be honest. I mean, because at a time when TaeJa may be thinking, okay, I have a prepared build now, he's not going to come take a look at this, so I'll make sure that I'm going to have something a little bit crafty. It's going to get found out very early on. We have an expansion coming down for ForGG, of course, as he continues into his Marine production, but for now, look at this, a perfect scout for Millennium ForGG.
And upon that scouting, the SUV just returns home. TaeJa, on the other hand, will scout the command center down. He will go in, or doesn't go in because the Marine just push him back, but he knows it's one barracks command center. Is TaeJa going to be pull this aggressive stuff? We talked a little bit about it before, why ForGG wouldn't do it, which he's not, because it is a big map. It is harder to pull this off. Is TaeJa going to be able to do that? Because if he doesn't, then this series is just going to end right here, right now.
And there's that second gas, and it's immediately scouted by ForGG. We'll see if TaeJa goes ahead with this, but he is committed. He wants very, very high tech out on the field, and ForGG, with 2 gas of his own, can take all day to prepare.
Yeah, and the best way that he's going to prepare with the double gases taken is just to go straight for factory. And upon knowing that the second gas is there, definitely, he knows that the Banshee, the likelihood of a Banshee is like 95% on its way across. So all he needs to do is set up his own defense. We there now see the starport on the tech lab, and we are going to have this Banshee play come out by TaeJa. On the other hand, there's the factory coming down by ForGG, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an engineering bay come down for some turrets as well, or if he started to save up the energy on the command centers instead. Either one's going to be okay.
He knows his opponent is going for super high tech. There's cloak already being started for TaeJa. He also knows his opponent is just on one base with that double gas build. So if he can hold this cost effectively with his second command center already down, he's going to be able to fly ahead in worker count and economy.
Yeah, this could be rough here for TaeJa. Let's see if he's going to be able to pull it off now as the factory is nearing completion. The scouting Hellion is out by TaeJa. Cloak is being researched 2 games out of 2 games. TaeJa's gone for Cloak, and in both of them, it didn't give him anything really. I mean, the initial punch of it gave him nothing. There's a tech lab coming down. There's the starport being made. Marines coming out 2 by 2 as well. So they're going to really help out and aid the anti-air defense.
Okay, so here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to come down to the wire here, but will TaeJa be able to make his way in and do any damage? The bunker up at the front is going to prevent that Hellion from making his way in. And as we can see, things are pretty normal. I mean, we're just waiting for that Banshee to show up and see how much damage he can actually do.
Hellion pokes in, just checks, just has a quick look at the gases, has a quick look at the SUV count and so on. But we do have the starport now finished. What are we going to see from the starport from ForGG here? Immediately a Viking. He doesn't quite have detection though set up. He is starting to save energy though. Those are the 2 things he could really bank on, is the engineering bay down for turrets or to save energy. And combining the Viking shot with a couple of Marines here, a single scan should be able to pick off a Banshee.
And ForGG was actually researching Blue Flame there for a second, but cancels it. Saving the gas for a later date. We'll see what he moves into. Oh, it looks like he was just prioritizing the Viking and making sure that he had everything in position that he needed to.
ForGG had his defense set up in the main base. All the Marines were there, so the Banshee actually gets a couple of SCV kills. And now it's going to be tense because the Viking is out. The SCV is falling down. 4 kills already for TaeJa, and this is already starting to work in his favor.
Yeah, 3 SCVs and the Marine, I'm sorry, already. Oh, but he runs right over the top of that bunker, and it gets picked off.
4 SCVs, not really the best for TaeJa. It does help, is he does have the SCV lead at the moment, and it could have been a little bit better. He could have got more, but the second Banshee, will this one be able to get more done? There is another scan available to be used at any point.
Yeah, ForGG had actually cut a little bit of workers there for a while. He did have his second base up so much faster, but still finding himself with a worker disadvantage at the moment. It looks like this Banshee is going to be able to get away, but didn't really do all that much damage, just 2 kills to his credit. 6
SCVs in total, though, is not too bad here. As you can see, TaeJa does have the lead. In terms of the unit tab, we see 32 SCVs compared to 28. So it's actually not looking too bad here for TaeJa, who is going back to building the Raven and starting to play a different style from here on out, not looking to continue with the aggression. But the biggest question I have on my mind is what ForGG is moving out with these Marines. Will it do anything along with Blue Flame? Because if you look back at TaeJa's main base, he already has a lot of Hellions and a bunker, combining with this Banshee that is still roaming around the map. This force of ForGG is going to actually peter out incredibly fast.
Yeah, and it looks like this Banshee is going to be able to get away again. Oh, a little bit of a hang-up there as we get things figured out. There we go. And this Banshee is going to skirt away.
But TaeJa's taking all 4 gases. TaeJa's going to be playing mech in this game.
Yes, he is.
Are we going to see mech coming out from ForGG? It's possible. We're not sure yet. He hasn't really taken any decisive measures. The 3rd gas is down, so the likelihood of it is more viable than bio at the moment.
Yeah, he's invested in no bio upgrades either, but he already has Blue Flame down, and he's got that Raven added into his composition, which is so helpful for mechs. The Banshee just barely gets away with 2 hit points, and TaeJa going to be thinking his lucky stars. He'll be healing that up, and that'll be used in a later fight.
I mean, if you look at the units lost tab, the difference between these 2 players, you can see through the use of these Banshees in SCVs and units across the map, TaeJa's actually gained a little bit of an advantage in that department. So things are not looking too bad for him. He still has an aggressive Banshee on the other side of the map. He does have the SCV lead. He has faster gases. He has the production coming down at the same time, but he has a faster 3rd base compared to his opponent who doesn't. So the one thing that TaeJa is going to have to prioritize here is not to fall under the same trap as previously, to fall short of air, to fall short of an aggressive 2-base push again.
And this Banshee swinging in and picking up a couple more kills. Going to get that Mule as well. Didn't know how much life it actually had left on it. It's always a tricky proposition going after Mules. You want to take them out because you grab them right at the very beginning of their life cycle. It's 250, 300 minerals gained for you. But if you get them towards the end, it's almost wasted.
So the Viking count staying consistent this time around for TaeJa, and he does have that Raven too, so he hasn't really lost that at the moment. That was one of the big things that happened last time, and we now see double armory coming down. So all these things starting to build together. TaeJa's actually got quite a decent lead in this game. If you look at the upgrades, there's 0 armories down for ForGG. There's no 3rd base. TaeJa has a 3rd base. He has armories coming down, and at the moment the army supply is relatively equal as well.
Ooh, but TaeJa's losing a lot of Hellions here in the middle of the map. A bit of a trade, but ForGG does come out with a slight advantage there. Resources lost pretty close between our 2 players. TaeJa a little bit worse for wear, but nothing that's really going to make or break this game.
Yeah, and that was those Hellions being lost in the middle, actually, that put that in favor of ForGG once again. But it seems like TaeJa with 1-1 on the way and 2 tanks coming out too, as well as maintaining the Viking lead, or not really Viking lead, but Viking production. They're actually equal in Vikings here. Whatever ForGG tries to do is not going to work here. Simply because TaeJa has exactly the same, but has a better economy, has better upgrades soon to be. Even though that's not an important factor right now, if he has the same amount of units, which he does, he's going to cancel out the aggressive push from ForGG, and then that's when these factors are going to come into play. The upgrades will be starting 2-2 before ForGG even looks to try to go for anything here. And that 3rd command center is going to go down momentarily here for TaeJa, and ForGG actually falling a little bit short of the mark, even though he does have the army supply advantage. As long as TaeJa plays this out smartly, I don't really see him falling down here.
Okay, well, he's already preparing with those gases over at his third base. He's even got a contingent of units in the top left-hand corner just to make sure that nothing is going to surprise him by way of a run-by. So TaeJa is preparing very, very well. ForGG starting to barrel down the map with a lot of forces at the moment, though he does have that advantage in army supply, as was just pointed out to us. And maybe the time is right for him while TaeJa just gets his base up and running to try and do some damage.
10 Vikings to 8 at the moment. In lead, ForGG, should I say, but 2 are about to pop, which will bring that back to normal again.
And, ForGG, though, does get off the first couple of shots. He baits out the point defense drones. Actually, point defense drones coming out on both sides, but 2 for TaeJa, just 1 for ForGG. And TaeJa's actually going to meet this force head-on. Loses a few forces up in the front. His tanks are not sieged up, and ForGG has actually done a little bit of damage.
He has done a little bit of damage, but is he going to be able to break that line? I don't think so. TaeJa keeping up with the Viking production. It's relatively equal at the moment. There is a slight lead here for ForGG, but he doesn't have the tank lead. Look at these tanks shelling down, and 1-1 is about to complete for them as well for TaeJa. This is going to give him a significant advantage in this.
We'll see if these Vikings land as well to help, and indeed they are. The tank's still shelling away for ForGG at the moment. TaeJa was losing a little bit of supply, but so was ForGG, and the Vikings all disappear. TaeJa holds on for the time being. A very close fight there.
That was so close, and those 1-1 upgrades really helped out for TaeJa there. And now 3 tanks are left exposed. He can basically land the Vikings on top and actually bring them down, but at the same time he doesn't want to run the risk of losing the Viking lead. But now he's content with 6 Vikings. They land, the tanks will fall. TaeJa cleans this up. He has a supply lead. He has the economy lead, and that is what Team Liquid were banking on to bring TaeJa back in, and even has a 10 supply lead. That push did not work, and now we see 2-2 on the way for TaeJa, and he has a magnificent advantage going on to the mid-game of this matchup.
Was so close to doing damage, though. ForGG very, very narrowly not eking out a win there, but he's going to have to fall back, be very defensive. This is still going to be a pretty slow-paced game. TaeJa's establishing a 4th base. He can't just blindly rush in with the lead he has. Not like it's bio play and he can start dropping everywhere and trying to stretch his opponent's multitasking. He is going to have to sit back and wait until he accumulates quite a bit of supply.
And I think that's the first armory we're seeing in the production cap come down for ForGG. So that's going to make a really big difference in these fights when we start to develop into that stage of the game. And we see TaeJa taking the correct response with this lead. Build a 4th command center. Make sure you don't lose to Hellion run-bys, which is why those 2 tanks are there, because Hellion run-bys can bring ForGG back into the game if he hits the economy, and which is what he's looking to do.
So we'll see if he can do just that as ForGG swings around the side, but already siege tanks in position, and those Hellions are going nowhere in a hurry. They will manage to get a couple of kills to their credit, but not going to be quite enough here. Not the turn of events that ForGG is looking for.
Perfect tank position, should I say, that get the Hellions even in a sweet spot where ForGG thought they may not be able to access. But there, a few SUVs killed by ForGG. He does have his own 3rd base down now with the 1st armor coming. But all of a sudden, what we're going to probably see by TaeJa is control of the center. Pick up that new command center, land it in the center, reinforce and waypoint all the units into the middle, and then as long as he has some kind of vision on the north and south side where Hellions can potentially run by, he's going to control the flow of the game. He's going to start to be able to drop Hellions of his own. He can start to push down the angles to the north and south side of his own as well.
And look at the upgrade advantage right now that TaeJa is carrying. We see 2-2 very nearly finished. This is +1 weapons coming up for ForGG. He's going to be a full 3 upgrades behind here in just a second. That is an amazing position for TaeJa to be in. He's invested into his army in all the right ways. He knows he has the sky advantage as well, so he's throwing on a couple of Banshees. And those are so valuable in mech compositions, just being able to break siege lines all by themselves.
Yeah, 6 Vikings to 2, and then the Banshees that have got cloak because he used cloak earlier on. That's going to be great for TaeJa. And now he is starting to make his movement down the south side. Shouldn't overcommit though, because if he overcommits and moves his entire army, things like this at the north side can really hurt him a lot, and that's a lot of Hellions. TaeJa has to, well, actually he's going to send all his Hellions back to defend just in case while moving forward his tanks. With the Viking lead, he's going to have sight range as well, forcing his opponent to use a lot of scans, and now ForGG is on the back foot, realizing that TaeJa is controlling this game and can make the movement down to this location.
So ForGG going to come in here in a second. TaeJa not sieged up, but now finally does get it down with those 2-2 upgrades. They should shine here in a second, but look at the surround of the Hellions on the tanks. So much damage is being done, and TaeJa is going to lose everything up the front. He killed a lot of tanks of his opponents as well. Supplies very even afterwards, but here comes TaeJa with the rest of his Hellions around the side.
Oh god, those Hellions missing from the fight changes everything in this game. Those Hellions needed to be there with the tanks, and now that they're not, this does become a little bit more stressful here. But with the Banshee, as you said, has cloak as well, can start to do damage to the tanks, and there is a lot of goddamn Hellions here for TaeJa. He melts the other Hellions of his opponent.
Wow, I mean, the siege tanks are just disappearing. There's just Hellions and a couple of Banshees flying overhead, but still ForGG is losing the vast majority of his forces. He is finally starting to rally out a couple of Thors, but they've been so long in coming.
And the thing is, the Thors are coming out because he knows he can never regain the air advantage. He's down in economy, he's down in production. There's no way he can actually catch up and overtake in Viking count. So that's the reason why he's doing that. Right now, TaeJa over 200 APM, both of these guys, and it looks like TaeJa is starting to waypoint everything forward. He smells victory, he smells a comeback possible, and he is looking for that very opportunity in the center of Daybreak here.
Well, ForGG is starting to fight this back. The Vikings were landed for TaeJa, kind of wasted. They went down right away. They were pretty low health to begin with, and this Thor being repaired up has been able to take out both of the Banshees just by itself.
Indeed it does, and it remains alive, and all TaeJa needs to do is siege up, and this location is his. He controls his opponent's Zelnogga Tower, and now with Vikings and more units being waypointed across, even Hellions making their way to the third base of ForGG.
Oh, and that is a lot of unit destruction. Oh, there's a huge, juicy line of SCVs just sitting, waiting right for the picking, and he gets most of them. A great shot there. 28 workers have been killed in total. ForGG just took a huge hit to his economy.
And TaeJa outplaying his opponent at the moment. The comeback is definitely going to be on as TaeJa marches forward towards the natural. He has a force. It is better upgraded. It is stronger in numbers. And TaeJa makes his stance within the production of his opponent.
That is absolutely right. Look how quickly those Hellions are just being obliterated. +3 weapons coming up for TaeJa. +1 weapons on his air as well. He kills the last Thor. There's GG. It is not going to be a 3-0. TaeJa starts to bring things back. It's 2-1.
Excellent play by TaeJa. A very interesting moment at the start of that game when he started off with the Banshees. The question was always going to be there, can he do damage? He did damage. He outplayed his opponent. He had the third base faster. He had double armory faster. He held the push from ForGG, and from there on out, he was cruising. He was sailing into the finish line, over that finish line, and now it is 2 victories for ForGG, 1 for his opponent.
That's right, and we mentioned TaeJa certainly has a possibility to make his way back into this and push this all the way to the last game. He's taken the first step there. He has overcome Daybreak, but now, as you mentioned, we move to Antigua Shipyard, a map where aggressive play is really, really favored.
And this is where it can be very dangerous for TaeJa to play on. So we see now a lot of people here watching both of these guys, watching to see who's going to come as the DreamHack champion, who is going to take down the lead. Well, it's moving on. Both of the players are ready in the game, and I'm going to go. I'm going to start the game. The game is loading. We are counting down into Antigua Shipyard, map numero 4.
All right, well, here we go. A nice mix of Spanish and English there. Well done, Apollo. Well done. And here we go, guys. The game is loading up. We're going to see if TaeJa can start to tie things back up completely. He's only down by 1 game, but this may be his biggest test, as it is on Antigua Shipyard. And over here, the bottom left-hand corner of Antigua Shipyard, we have our red Terran player from Millennium. It is ForGG. And he is up 2-1 on his opponent here in the top right-hand corner. Our blue Terran player from Team Liquid winning the last game and trying to tie things up. It is TaeJa. Like the one guy there in the middle of the crowd that was testing the durability of the noisemakers there. Does this bend? Yes, it does.
Thank you, Twitch TV, supporting the crowd with those the twangers, or whatever you want to call them. Going on to this map, though, we already have a very early... Oh my god, I'm getting a little bit seasick right now as the camera movement going in and out on that SCV. A very early SCV is moving out.
Oh boy.
ForGG.
We've seen that both these players can use really, really quick aggression when it suits them. And in a best of scenario, especially when you're up, you want to be unpredictable. And this is about as unpredictable as it can get. If TaeJa doesn't scout this, we're likely to see gas after this, I would imagine, for a Marauder rush. But we'll see if ForGG tries to switch things up on us.
The thing is, TaeJa, for the majority of the games, I'm not sure exactly how many of the games have been played, but he scouts the natural every time. And there's an SCV going down. Is he going to check, or is he going straight across the map? Oh my god, he's going to spot it. That's so big for TaeJa. That is absolutely massive.
And it's canceled. That is a huge advantage gain for TaeJa at the moment. Even the gas is canceled. It was to be a Marauder rush. It's going to be just turned into a command center first. But TaeJa really saving his game right there.
Oh my god. I mean, the thing is, the difference between us casting and ForGG playing, ForGG actually hasn't been watching the replays after every time. He doesn't really know if the SUV is scouting there. And to be honest, in the majority of the games, TaeJa does check for things like that. We saw it on Ohana, we saw it here as well. And because of that little pattern that TaeJa goes through, that saved him potentially the entire of the tournament.
And because that SUV wasn't mining, because he had to cancel those structures, TaeJa's actually going to drop down this command center even after starting his own orbital command and a barracks just about 30 seconds after his opponent. That's not that big of a time difference for him to be able to get that down.
SUV inside the main base sees that this is going to be command center, followed by these extra barracks, which is kind of the usual fault. You've got to do something to play from this position. But TaeJa, going for his command center of his own, he does see the double barracks coming down. How is this? Well, actually, this is actually mapping out rather well. If you think about it, ForGG was looking for that aggressive option. It is now fallen down on the command center, and now TaeJa is going to be playing against an opponent who's playing a similar style, which is where TaeJa's strengths really lie.
All right, yeah, I mean, there's a few guys out there that you would pick to truly outmatch an opponent, and TaeJa's one of them. And look at this, he's already pulled a lot of workers off the line. Even if this Marine gets taken down very quickly, nice little Mortal Kombat as two workers were fighting a second ago, even if this Marine were to die right away, he'd still have done significant economic damage by pulling that many workers off the line.
Two command centers coming down for TaeJa. Seeing that his opponent went command center first and just tops that by going for a third command center. And unfortunately for ForGG, he's actually not going to know about that. He actually can't react to it. So he's actually going to be going straight for the refineries very shortly here, I suppose. But he is building Marines at the same time. Let's see if he does actually add on extra barracks or something. Oh, we see an extra barracks being added on here by ForGG. Instead of taking the refineries, is he going to throw down another barracks potentially?
I don't know. 3 barracks for now, though. He will have a few units out on the field to begin with. But TaeJa, with those 3 command centers, is going to be in such a great position here economically. 2 refineries being taken, as we can see, by ForGG as he'll continue to power ahead with some add-ons and upgrades.
SUV is going to make its way across to build that factory, of course, after going for these 3 command centers. So far, neither of these players are actually going to be able to adapt and react to their opponent due to the lack of scouting available or being pushed out. So they're both gunning towards what they think is the best way to play this out. And of course, ForGG going for 3 barracks in a biocentric style. On the other hand, TaeJa just playing it more defensive because he knows that everything's delayed. He knows that he's gone for a 3rd command center, so he also realizes that he's going to be ahead economically.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So TaeJa now just sitting back, making sure that he's not going to die into anything unnecessary. He has control of the map. He has a bunker in place, as we can see. He's moving up in tech, reactor Hellions. Going to pop online here momentarily. And there's actually 2 more barracks coming up for him right afterwards. And that starport's already being constructed, so TaeJa's at the top of his tech. He's looking really good.
Factory switching over, so we are going to be seeing some Hellions coming out here, and then Tech Lab added on to the barracks. Most likely for a Banshee again. We could potentially, I mean, with the Banshee coming out, it could potentially do a lot of damage. But we do see TaeJa throwing down 2 additional barracks. So we are going to have a biotank versus biotank style, biological units, Marines, and Medivacs against exactly the same. And actually looking at that, well done RBC picks up the scan from TaeJa, and now TaeJa knows exactly what he's actually playing against, compared to ForGG, who doesn't, unfortunately.
He does know exactly what he's playing against, and he knows, I mean, you can see how greedy TaeJa's being in this game, and it's greedy in a good way. He sneaked out a great advantage at the beginning of this game, and he's essentially just been punishing ForGG for it ever since, with the extra command center, with the extra investment into infrastructure. We do see 1-1 upgrades on the way for ForGG, and that is a nice benefit for him, having those double level engineering base down quicker than
he's got double engineering base down. He's also added on 2 additional barracks here without taking gases on the natural. So he's actually saying, well, I don't want tanks, I don't want really medivacs at this point in the game. I actually just want a very strong bioforce, and this could be very nice for him. He's going to have a very strong army in the mid stages. Any mistakes by TaeJa will be punished through this.
Yeah, I mean, especially with this Banshee that's popping up. I mean, the Banshee could get cut off very easily by that number of Marines, especially with Stim, which is going to finish up here very quickly for ForGG, considerably ahead of his opponent.
And with the new refinery being added on by ForGG, he will want to build a factory very shortly so he can start to go medivacs. And I don't think he's actually going to go for tanks for quite a while in this game. He's added on Tech Labs, so he's actually just going to go ahead and say, well, if you have tanks, that's okay. I don't want tanks, that's fine. I'm going to build Marauder and Marines and medivacs and then just overwhelm you with a sheer amount of quality units, especially because he has 1-1 on the way.
All right. Well, we'll see what ForGG's planning to do with these forces out in the middle of the map. He moves everything away, though, at a time when TaeJa moves right back in with that Banshee. As Adebisi is showing us, ForGG's walking around the vision of the Selnaga Tower, ensuring that this isn't going to be seen until the absolute last moment. But TaeJa, he's already killed 7 workers with that Banshee. Even if it falls, it's paid for itself.
The supply depot is going to see it. The supply depot sees it. That is so big for TaeJa, because right now, if he hadn't seen that, he could have lost everything. He's going to have to pull SCVs to actually repair this bunker, I feel. He does or will not. No, he's not going to have stim in time.
Oh, but siege mode is just finishing up, so he will have this tank on the high ground as well. But is it going to be enough? This tank actually firing in its higher DPS single target mode, and TaeJa forces this away.
He doesn't even need to repair that bunker. He deals with that. Very nice play by TaeJa. Or he didn't really need to do anything. All he did with the supply depot spotting, and a bit of a mistake from ForGG going around the right-hand side and then just walking in front of where you usually see a supply depot. Likewise, he even has his own there.
And, you know, we mentioned going into this that Antigua Shipyard was going to be a map where we're going to see aggressive play. It was going to be TaeJa's possibly toughest task in this set, or what was remaining as far as maps go. But TaeJa's been able to slow this down. He's defending now. He's on 3 orbital commands. He's moving ahead with a ton of barracks. He's playing the style of game that he wants to play.
And that's got to be real now. Oopsie daisy. Does lose a couple of Hellions, but he does have a decent tank spread. And on this map, the tank on that ground will cover the entire round.
Yeah, and already firing a couple of times, but he's not able to pick up on the units all that quickly. It is going to stop construction of a couple of buildings, even forces a cancel on both those barracks at the front. But then ForGG does lose all of his forces. Yeah,
that's not so good. If you look at the units lost tab, TaeJa is quite significantly in the lead there. 1,000 resources difference between the two players. And there's no third command center down yet for ForGG. TaeJa, again, with a faster third base, is going to be able to go into the next stage of the game with a good lead again. And there we are going to finally see the starports come out to play for ForGG. He's going to start to get the medivacs rolling. He's going to move into 2-2 momentarily. And he does have an upgrade lead over TaeJa. But with TaeJa, with tanks, the positional advantage of strategical play will be in favor of TaeJa for the majority of this game through having those tanks superior lead.
And TaeJa also going to be a bit aggressive, and we see 2 medevacs full of Marines loaded up on the left-hand side. 16 Marines upgraded can do a considerable amount of damage, especially if ForGG gets his units out of position again. Looks like he is bringing a few things back through his veins, so we'll see if he picks up on this. He already has some Marines in position. Oh, and he's going to try and take out one of the medevacs, but he can't get it. It's down to half health and makes its way away.
That was smart from ForGG, realizing he lost the center of the map now, so drops are a lot more viable when you can't see anything, of course. But for TaeJa now working on 2-2 of his own. He's not even that far behind, or he's not far behind at all in terms of upgrades. He does have a better supply in terms of SCVs. He has a 20 supply lead over his opponent.
He is supply blocked, unfortunately. I don't know if he's constructing any supply depots. Wow, we actually just started 3 of those. We're probably going to need to see some call down of supplies. But unfortunately, he just spent all of his energy on 8 mules over at the 3rd.
ForGG with a lot of Marauders here, and he will actually do really well against tanks on siege. Of course, with the tanks sieged up, he's going to lose the majority of fights here. And it's all about trying to outplay and outmaneuver TaeJa, because TaeJa in a direct fight wins.
So TaeJa down I mean, obviously he's up in supply in this game so far, but he's down a little bit from where he should be, because he had to wait and bank his production for so long while he waited for the supply depots to come up. But he still has a big enough lead that he can establish control over the middle of the map.
2 options for TaeJa. He either goes to the left-hand side and sieges up underneath the main base and starts dropping into the main base, or he moves south and starts to head towards that command center. And right now he is starting to just actually stay idly. Upon the scan going down, he sieges up immediately and will reflect the push, the stim forward by ForGG.
Still single tanks being constructed at time for both our players. No, there we go. TaeJa finally starting to produce 2 at a time now, as soon as I save that. So he is going to just take his tank lead and stretch it so far. Oh, ForGG going to try and engage before these tanks are actually sieged up. But look at TaeJa crashing through the front line of forces. Though, does ForGG have enough to be able to break on through? He has a couple tanks of his own at the back. He does a nice job by picking up and then drops right back on top of TaeJa's tanks.
Really nice play, but there are a couple of Marines coming to back these units up, so that won't last forever, that kind of style, and TaeJa does hold that position. His better army composition and tanks gave him the lead in that fight. Equal upgrades, of course. And TaeJa's going to drop in the main base.
Yeah, he's going to start pulling units out of position, because if ForGG doesn't deal with this, this could kill his buildings very, very quickly. TaeJa getting 1 tank a bit out of position there, and he will be punished for that, but still has such a dominant position.
TaeJa's really controlling this game ultimately well, and I think that right now the ForGG has to be very careful. He can't allow drops into the main base again. He's going to have to leave some units there, whether it be just a handful of Marines to stim and pick off the medevac as they drop. But right now, TaeJa doesn't need to stay here. He can actually unsiege, go back to the center, and take a different approach down to the third base. Can even start to move forward. He sees and smells weakness.
Yes, he does. And Adebisi was pointing out the upgrade advantage there. Already has +1 for his tanks, moving up to 3/3 for his bio, and +2 for his tanks as well. So TaeJa able to move through, pick off tanks. He's caught unsieged here, but I don't even think that ForGG has enough to punish that. And in fact, he already has to fall back.
Yeah, and now TaeJa should break down the destructible debris and start to open up that angle of attack down to the third base. And with the tank position, it is going to be very difficult for ForGG to actually break this. Are we going to see the comeback initiated here? Are we going to go to the final map? And this TaeJa actually wants to go for a direct engagement. The tanks are unsieged, and he's going to be able to pick them off relatively fast.
He doesn't even get one and leaves out of there and takes a huge shelling. 6 hit points left on that tank. We can see that the resources lost still in TaeJa's favor, but, he's got to make sure that he keeps his vice grip held. Surprised that he hasn't put down a command center to start eventually going to a 4th base, but it's looking pretty good still.
Yeah, I mean, he'll do that right now, but he like you said, he's got the grip on his opponent, and he wants to keep it very tight and locked up. And a big siege goes forward, going to pick off a tank here, but there's a lot of Marines there by ForGG. Maybe not the best movement there by TaeJa, and he does fall back to his tanks, but because of the tanks, with the +1 attack there, and the spread of tanks, there's so many of them, that it's very difficult for ForGG to break out of this. And TaeJa is making his movement south. Slowly but surely, he will start to take position on the third base, the high ground, and the SCV line is going to be broken down.
And ForGG loads up 3 medevacs, but at the exact same time, it's scanned by TaeJa, so he should know what's going on. And look at the stream of blue units moving across the map. The production for TaeJa is insane.
TaeJa's controlling the ramp, connecting these bases together, and the SCVs have been pulled out. ForGG knows how much trouble he's in. He's going to try and break out of this right here.
But look at the tank position from TaeJa. It's just chewing through his opponent's units, and ForGG is dropping rapidly in supply, and it looks like TaeJa may very well be able to tie this up and send us to the 5th game of this best of 5.
TaeJa's done it. GG!
Wow, and what could we have expected, or what could we have hoped for more than what we're seeing right now? We're going to game number 5. It is all on the line. 30,000 Swedish krona difference in prize pool rests on just this game.
Indeed, oh my god, we're going to the final map. It is going to be Metropolis. TaeJa's come back from 0-2. Is he going to have his 3rd tournament victory in 3 months? Is ForGG now going to crumble under what we've just witnessed from TaeJa?
I go back to thinking about TaeJa's comments beforehand. He thought a 3-0 would be not as exciting, maybe just giving ForGG a 2-game lead there and trying to make his way back into this. But this has just been a great set of TVT games.
A great set of TVT games, and it's only going to continue now. Moving on to the next map, Metropolis. A very large map here. Are we going to see some kind of cheese, super early aggression? Are we going to see straight up macro style, both going for command center first? A lot is on the line here, and the decisions made by these individuals on stage is going to be a $4,000 difference between the prize pool of 1st and 2nd, and then of course the pride of being a DreamHack champion.
That's right, $10,000 for 1st, 70,000 Swedish krona. That is quite a hefty payday for 2 days of StarCraft action now, and TaeJa starting to swing the momentum back in his favor. We are moving to Metropolis. We mentioned that it could play into TaeJa's favor, but we've seen ForGG try some creative things.
ForGG has so many builds that he can bring to the table that's going to make it very difficult, and that's probably one of his strengths. You kind of know his style, that's aggressive, but you don't know what exactly build he's going to bring out. And ForGG now, having lost the last 2 games in a row, is he going to play aggressive? Does he play normal? I don't know. Metropolis is such a big map where anything can actually happen.
Okay, well, the game is loading up right now, and we're going to jump into this here in just a second. I think, though, that if, as the countdown has started, ForGG tries something as explicitly cheesy as he did last time, certainly going to be in a different position. He now knows that TaeJa's being very diligent in scouting everywhere. Yeah,
and that was shut down pretty hard in the last game. I doubt he'll try a proxy marauder here. May try something else, but we're about to go in to the last map of DreamHack Valencia, the DreamHack ISO Open.
And here we are, the last game of the ISO Open at DreamHack Valencia. And down at the 6 o'clock position, our red Terran player. He's lost the last 2 games in a row, but he's still just 1 game away from taking the set. It is Millennium ForGG. Cheers cheers ringing out from the crowds there. And at the 12 o'clock position, his opponent, the blue Terran player from Liquid, winning the last 2 games in a row to tie things up. Give it up for Liquid TaeJa!
Everybody's excited for this finals here as we do make our way in. And of course, well, breath of fresh air there. And of course, before we do get in, we want to thank the sponsors for the DreamHack ISO Tour. Of course, AMD, Logitech, ISO, Sapphire, and of course, the amazing Twitch TV.
That's right. The special monitors we've been using have just been fantastic the whole weekend. So thanks very much to them for their support. As we can see, ForGG deciding to go after a refinery first. And TaeJa just going to open up with that barracks again. So ForGG can open with quick tech, a very quick factory, but not something that's as explicitly cheesy as throwing a barracks inside of his opponent's natural.
TaeJa now going to make a movement across the right-hand side, checking in case there is any kind of proxy stuff that could be right about there.
Yeah,
and he makes his movement down.
That's like the most common spot to put proxies because you can only spawn cross positions or close positions by air, so people who just rally their worker across the map will never pick up on it.
And it's actually funny, if you go back to that same location, it looks like the map maker pointed that out to the audience as well, exclamation mark on that very location.
Proxy here.
Yeah, proxy here, or at least scout here. Be careful, you don't know what's going to be around the corner.
Well, TaeJa queuing up SUVs, of course, he is going to move into a 1-Rex gasless fast expand. That shouldn't affect him too much in being able to defend what ForGG has, so long as he's diligent in scouting and picks up on what his opponent is doing very quickly.
All right, so TaeJa picks up the scout of the factory, and of course we'll now see the...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. That was not intended to cut you off there, but just wanted to say that he decides to gas after seeing that very late in the supply.
Yeah, that's actually a relatively late gas. He's still going to have a command center coming down, but with the earlier gas compared to usually, he's still going to be able to rush to getting up a factory of his own to start to set up some form of defense there. And as TaeJa leaves in the main base, we actually have a tech lag coming down on the barracks again, not going for anything else. I mean, going for the tech lab early on, this only leads to believe one style of play that ForGG likes to use, and that very well could be that early blue flame Hellion style again.
Okay, we'll see if that's going to be the case here. And he's actually going to put up the starport there on the tech lab. He does have the gas required to put up Banshees. They will be of the uncloaked variety, so this will be an uncloaked Banshee expand.
Yeah, and without that second gas, the Banshee, you don't take a big investment in it. And you do get of course, if you get, for example, 4 to 5 SCVs, you get paid well. You get paid your worth in gold there. But just trying to figure out what TaeJa's looking at doing now. He does have a reactor coming down on that barracks. A factory coming down as well as a bunker, just setting up natural defenses against any form of aggression that ForGG can throw out.
So ForGG starting to produce his Hellions, starting to produce his Banshees as well. Doesn't have the most gas to go around, but he'll have enough to produce a couple of Banshees. He'll have basically 100 gas as soon as each Banshee pops out. As we can see on TaeJa's side, though, he's just finishing up that reactor. He's just finishing up that factory as well. We'll see if he swaps those over or decides to move right into Banshees or starport himself.
That was close with the bunker completing and the Marines jumping inside just as the Hellions make their way across here. We do see another tech lab being constructed here. Not a tech lab, sorry, another reactor being constructed by ForGG inside the main base. But on the other hand, we do see the tech lab coming down on the factory for TaeJa, on the factory. Is it going to be for tanks? Is he going to lift up and switch over for a Banshee of his own?
I don't know. I mean, most of the time you would think it's going to be Banshees or something like that, but TaeJa, this is the second time now that he's done this, going straight for reactor Marines and a Sea Shank. Now, eventually, in that game where he first did that, he swapped over and made some Banshees afterwards, after getting the first couple of defensive tanks, but we'll see if he decides to commit to it this time, or just goes, or decides to switch into those Banshees later.
Through that scan, TaeJa knows that he doesn't have to save up energy anymore because he saw the starport being lifted off that, and Hellions make their way, and they're going to bring down the Marines.
Wow, this is working out pretty well. Now, one of the Hellions did go down from the Marines that were off to the side from TaeJa, but still, there's not a lot here to defend against this. A couple of workers could go down, but honestly, this Banshee's going to fall if he's not careful.
Oh, the Hellions do fall down. The Banshee still remains alive. A lot of kills have gone down. Only 2 worker kills, but a lot more in the army. But so far, I mean, I'm not too sure if that is exactly worth it, considering the amount of time that the command center for TaeJa has been down over his opponent.
Yeah, I mean, it's been established almost a whole 100 seconds faster. He's been able to produce double SUVs from it for a while. Can we take a look at the worker count here real quick just to see where we sit? It's 27 to 26 in favor of TaeJa, but of course it's still another 50 or 60 seconds before, I guess a little shorter than that, the orbital command is already on the way, so about 30 seconds until he can start taking advantage of that.
So we do have a Viking popping out there for ForGG, and he is producing tanks. It looks like we are just going to have a very similar style bio tank play by for these. Unfortunately for TaeJa, his Viking does move out a little bit too far down and gets picked off by those other Vikings.
Yes, it does, but TaeJa's still sitting back on pretty good economy, going up to his third gas, as we can see, and once again, he decides to swap over and start producing the Banshees of his own. The first one just popping out now and making its way down the map.
It's very difficult to tell what exactly these plays are going, because just because they have so many options to branch down because of the use of factory stuff or barracks being able to lift over, and with that barracks being connected to the tech lab, we are going to be seeing bio at least come out from TaeJa. On the other hand here, ForGG is still making tanks. He's got a bunch of Marines out because he's been making Marines off that reactor for quite a long time, and he's going to start to make a movement across the map here. He does not have siege mode at the moment, but it is on the way.
And Sean, this is so much pressure here. This is everything on the line. This is game 5 of a best of 5, a winner-take-all here for the 70,000 Swedish krona first prize. And looks like TaeJa going to swing in now, try and pick off a couple of workers. Unfortunately, it looks like his attention is occupied as that siege tank is able to pelt away and destroy the helium before it does too much damage.
Viking count and keeps on rising. And
oh no! TaeJa loses his Banshee. It doesn't get anything done.
That's not so good for TaeJa there, is it? As there are currently 4 Vikings out for ForGG. He's relatively low on SUVs compared to TaeJa, of course. And as these Vikings make their way across with tanks and Marines, the tanks are going to have siege mode. The Vikings are going to give them the range necessary to actually reach further than his opponent's tanks, who doesn't quite have siege mode yet. He actually, looking at TaeJa's unit count, he only has a single tank out at the moment.
Okay, well, we'll see what he can do to try and recover. I mean, he's up in workers, but obviously down critically in army supply, 23 to 40, almost doubled there for ForGG, and we know how aggressive he likes to be. He wants to get sieged up here in this position to begin assaulting his opponent's units, and it looks like TaeJa going to try and break this right away. He kills one of the tanks, but can't do anything to the second one.
Yeah, the Vikings landed, and they just give him a little bit more DPS, and the tech lab is being targeted down. Siege tech is just about going to finish just by a couple of seconds.
And TaeJa, I imagine, is going to rally that siege tank to the back here. Can't save the tech lab, so this siege tank is going to be the last one for quite a while. He'll probably lift that and reposition, and indeed he does, almost killing 2 of his opponent's Vikings as well.
And ForGG is going over to complete mech with this by adding on additional factories. The Vikings doing a lot of damage, but at the same time here, TaeJa is taking a couple of hits, but he's not really losing anything, if you think about it. He's had to move his structures back. He's got his tank line back as well, and ForGG actually can't extend too much far forward than this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it sucks that he lost a couple of add-ons there, but he didn't lose too much of his army. He was able to take down 1 tank from his opponent. He will lose this bunker at the front, though, which is a little bit devastating, because that's going to allow ForGG to swing around the side, but TaeJa's going to try and break this right now. He actually makes his way up trying to pick off Vikings. He hasn't done much to the tanks, finally manages to get himself 1 kill, gets 2 as well, and destroys the rest of the Vikings on the way out, but there's still a huge group of Marines that's sitting around for ForGG.
Really nice methodical play and movement there by TaeJa, and with the amount of Marines he's got out with stim near completion as well as +1, he's going to burst out the gates in a couple of minutes, destroy this contain like it was nothing, and ForGG has to be very careful. I think that ForGG's retreat might be the best option on the board right now. Stim is just about to be done, 15 seconds away. Likewise, in 15 seconds will be that +1. 4 tanks out by TaeJa, a lot of Marines here. Even though they are low in health, he's actually going to break this down relatively easy. Blue Flaming Highs are going to come in to help out because there aren't combat shields, but there's the forward aggression, the forward siege up, and these tanks are falling really, really fast.
And that's a pretty good position, too, because he won't take too much damage from the units on the low ground, but look at this, ForGG actually dropping his Vikings in, kills 2 of the tanks there, and TaeJa losing supply depots left and right. He actually just had to build a bunch of them at the same time to avoid being supply blocked. He was supply blocked at 94 over 94 for a couple of minutes in game.
But he does break the contain, and now can go ahead and mine from a third base in a couple of moments' time as his third command center is up and ready. We see additional barracks coming down by TaeJa, as well as the medevac count going to steady increase because he is playing the biological style. The engineering base are going to research or continue to follow through with research once he has enough gas here to go for that +2. Doesn't quite have enough gas, as you see on the natural there. He's not actually mining from one of the Vespian guises, which is a little bit of a mistake. And as you said, these players have been playing for 12 hours yesterday, today, the last map, a very long day as the night dawns on us here. And well, mistakes can happen.
Pressure. I mean, there's so much on the line here. As we can see, though, TaeJa knows that it's mech, so he's already producing 3 Marauders at a time, continuing with that siege tank count, making sure that he invests in his upgrades, even to his mech forces, as +1 weapons is well on the way. Is there an armory up for ForGG, or has he started any upgrades? I'm actually unsure at the moment. Doesn't look like he has one. Oh, it's just now starting, so believe it or not, TaeJa's actually going to have the advantage in mech upgrades as well.
TaeJa's moving down this right-hand side, and there's no detection for ForGG. It doesn't have the Xel'Naga tower, it doesn't have any units around. TaeJa's got a relatively strong army force, considering he does have 4 medivacs with these +1 units. +1 armor soon to be. We still don't see that +2 attack coming out for these Marines, for these biological units either, and a lot of Blue Flame units out, Blue Flame Hellions. And the tank count is actually pretty strong behind that as well. And let's see if TaeJa can get a good engagement against this, because those Hellions are going to buffer a lot of damage.
That is a heavy, heavy army bearing down to on the forces of TaeJa at the moment. And ForGG wants to engage. He kills a lot of Marines up at the front. Now sieges up his tanks. His Hellions are buffering the damage. That's exactly what he wants. ForGG is losing a couple of tanks back at home, but he has inflicted pretty good damage on TaeJa, but not enough. TaeJa is continuing to push on forward, despite the air advantage.
Yeah, and ForGG just about holds on to that. He can land his Vikings to win the war here, as those tanks will fall down for Liquid TaeJa. Millennium ForGG gets a nice little fight there. A very close fight between these two guys, but with great use of those Vikings, does actually lead there. And in terms of units lost, we do see TaeJa losing a little bit more. He scans now to actually find out if ForGG's mining from this third base. And unfortunately there for TaeJa, is actually not going to quite see that command center land down there.
So TaeJa did add on a second factory just a bit ago, I believe, but he does have, he does have that second factory now, so he will be able to double produce tanks if he wants. There we go, finally distributing the tank production between the two. So he's not in a terrible position here. ForGG, of course, is going to have a little bit stronger frontline engagement force as things come up, but once again, we see TaeJa investing back into his upgrades, +2 armors on the way. He's ahead of his opponent's mech upgrades, so all is not lost. TaeJa looking pretty good.
Yeah, TaeJa is looking pretty good. I mean, it's not looking bad for either of these players at the moment. It is relatively equal with the equal supplies laid out. Well, a decent amount of factories there, 5 factories, and it looks like we are going to go up to a total of 7 now, and that's going to continue to increase the count of ForGG's tanks. It's all going to come down to now, is TaeJa going to start dropping around the map? There's no sensor towers been put up here for ForGG. There's no turrets, and his main base is very much so exposed. The big problem is that there are Vikings. There's like 5 Vikings that are patrolling around, looking for anything like that to come from TaeJa.
Still the key part of mech, though. You want to have that turret ring, because you know how deadly drops can be with a relatively immobile mech force. So here we go. TaeJa's starting to roll through the middle of the map. He's got pretty good map coverage. I mean, ForGG really doesn't have a presence other than that floated barracks that's outside of the main of TaeJa.
And it looks like TaeJa's going to make this way to the left-hand side here. The tank line is incredibly deep. It just keeps on going back once you look at it. And TaeJa is going to come down. He's going to break these back rocks and maybe looking to break down and snipe this command center. But with the tank line exceeding back so much, will he be able to continue through?
I don't know. ForGG can obviously see the destructible rocks are going down, but is he paying attention to it? It's not something you usually look over and see. Oh, and the Hellions are way out of position, and TaeJa's just going to be able to bust through and kill so many tanks. The Hellions finally retreating now. TaeJa falling back to his own tank position, but he effectively denies the third base.
Nice pickup there, because if you think about it, when you play bio against mech, all you need to do is just wear the mech player down. The mech player's goal here is to make a massive tank army and then eventually roll out. And TaeJa picking off 3 to 4 tanks there, delaying this expansion from actually efficiently mining, cutting off the refinery as well. Nice play here by TaeJa while taking a 4th base at the same time, streaming units across. This probably will be a very nice decision to go drop in the main base, maybe stim to the natural, because the concentration of the focus for ForGG is on this 3rd base. TaeJa could start to snowball this game a little bit if he was to make that move, and he is making. He scans ahead of time. Unfortunately, there is a great defense set up by ForGG to prevent anything like that from happening.
And ForGG is thinking about trying to cut these reinforcements off or surround this army, but TaeJa's going to bust through one more time, and ForGG has to react to this. TaeJa needs to get down with the rest of his units, though, get those in position, but once again, TaeJa just sneaks through, picks off a few units. He is going to engage a little bit more here, but there's enough units for ForGG that it forces TaeJa back.
The bio upgrade upgrades are about to be at 2-2. The tanks only at 1-0. They do not have plating. They will melt a lot faster. The Hellions won't buffer as much either. And again, TaeJa makes a movement down here. The tanks supporting this. Is this going to be a tournament-winning move here by TaeJa?
And look at this. ForGG has these bio units trapped off to the side. He has perfect vision as well. A Marauder trying to soak up some of the shots as TaeJa ferries his units back. But I don't know if he's moving out on the map anywhere else. He's got a lot of reinforcements coming, but he's not dropping. He's not doing anything to pin his opponent out of position. Even though he's denying this base, he has such a better economy. ForGG can kill a lot of stuff.
Really big income difference right now, and TaeJa has a fourth base set up on the right-hand side, and he's now going to stim in, pick off another tank because he knows those units are going to die anyway, so he gets 2 tanks for his trouble. An excellent play from TaeJa, and at this stage of the game, when he has this economy, when he has these upgrades, bio units can be thrown away like that, so this is marking out very well here for TaeJa. And ForGG, though, look at the amount of Hellions. He has 39 Hellions with this army.
Oh, that is a staggering force. And TaeJa, he's slowly sieging up, but ForGG is going for it across the map. TaeJa is sitting on 4 bases, but he's not doing much mining over at his 4th at the moment, so he's going to need to be able to reproduce as many forces as he can back at home. He needs to get the supply depot wall up as well.
Is TaeJa going to be able to hold on against this? This is a very strong mech army here for ForGG. Look at how many Hellions there are. I mean, how are the bio even meant to get towards the tanks here? Vikings and a Raven to support this. ForGG has an almost unstoppable army. It's not that well upgraded, though. That's the one thing that TaeJa can bank on. But is TaeJa going to be able to fight against this army? He's bringing his units back to come defend.
And TaeJa actually has a really good position. He's got tanks off to the right. He's got tanks sitting on the ramp. He's got reinforcements coming in inside of the main. And he's got that big force that can circle around from the back as well. So even though ForGG is max, he's sitting on 2 bases. He has no economy at his 3rd whatsoever. And TaeJa may be able to punish this here in a bit.
What really is ForGG doing now with his units? He's not doing anything to TaeJa, so TaeJa quite content with that. And TaeJa moving across with those units from back at the 3rd base of ForGG, and he's going to move down this right-hand side. He finds a lot of SCVs here.
Oh, and these Hellions are making their way in. They'll be able to clean up these tanks, but not before they take some losses of their own. And we can see where this was a 40 supply difference between these 2 players before. TaeJa actually has the lead.
And now the Hellion count gone from 40 down to 20. A command center is going to be blown up. TaeJa's going to hurt the economy of ForGG so much, and that is going to fall just about. It will burn down. It has a few hit points remaining. SCVs are close, but he's not going to repair it, and it is going to burn down in the center of the map. It falls. TaeJa gets that, and at the same time, the army of ForGG is marching forward. But look at the supply difference.
Yeah, the supply difference is massive now. ForGG just has no way to reproduce this army, and TaeJa's on 4 factories of his own, so he can go up to 1 million mech units if he wants. ForGG does have a nice position. He's going to start threatening the economy, and actually these Blue Flame Hellions are going to make quick work of the SCVs, but we can see TaeJa getting a position from the side.
All the SCVs are going down there. Great move there by ForGG, but he's going to lose a lot of these Hellions, which are protecting these tanks. And we see on the left-hand side a drop onto these tanks, and oh my god, on the left, just slightly left again.
Oh boy, that is so much damage being done. ForGG is down to just 90 supply. TaeJa wants to break this. He wants to win DreamHack Valencia right here, right now.
And it is going to happen. He breaks the army of ForGG. Even in the middle, more and more tanks are falling down. The last remaining tanks. Millennium's ForGG down at 50 supply. TaeJa went into this series falling 0-2 against Millennium's ForGG, and now is about to pick up this victory. He's marching across the map. There it is. GG!
Liquid TaeJa is your champion! He comes back from down 0-2 to win 3 games in a row. He said a 3-0 would be uninteresting. Well, boy, he made it interesting. There's your champion. He wins 70,000 krona. He gets an invite to DreamHack winner. Congratulations to Liquid TaeJa!
Liquid TaeJa, his 3rd tournament victory in 3 months. That is impressive. TaeJa is here, and TaeJa's here to stay.
Unbelievable. Well done. Now we're going to have an interview with our victor right now. So, Rachel, let's go to you.
TaeJa, I'm going to let you have a moment here. You're clearly composing. Are you ready? Do you feel good? All right. You said you were going to make it interesting. Is that why you gave up those first 2 games? Because you were so similar. I really don't know where you lost those first 2 games.
첫 번째 게임들이 거의 비슷했는데 어떻게 마지막에 지게 됐어요?
첫 번째 경기는 지수 형이 스타일을 아직 제대로 파악을 못했었어요. 일단 공격적이라는 건 알았는데 얼마나 공격적인지 몰라가지고 했는데, 그래서 첫 판하고 두 판은 압도적으로 이렇게 진 것 같고요. 그래서 그 다음부터 지수 형 플레이를 생각하면서 게임하니까 잘 풀린 것 같아요.
The first two games, he really doesn't know exactly how was the 4GG style. He know he was very offensive and aggressive, but he doesn't know exactly how much. So that's the reason he lost the first two games. But then he start to think and adapt his game to 4GG game, and that is how he win.
And how exactly did you adapt your game to his style?
그러니까 그럼 어떻게 생각하면서 이제 게임을 준비했어요? 이제 세 번째부터.
더 지수 형 스타일을 제대로 파악하게 돼서 좀 수비적으로 했어 제가. 계속 공격적으로 하시는 걸 알아가지고 수비적으로 했더니 좋은 결과 나왔어 다행히.
Because you know exactly how was the style of 4GG, his style to play more macro and get weight, his attack and defense.
In Game 4, when you came across 4GG's attempt at the proxy barracks, what was going through your mind?
네, 세 번째 게임에 시작할 때 프록시 바락 나왔잖아요. 그거 보고 어떻게 생각했어요?
일단 전진병영 한 번 정도 할 거라고 예상했는데 4세트 제가 스코어를 쫓아가는 입장에서 써줘가지고 다행이었던 것 같아요.
When he saw the proxy Farak, he felt really relaxed. He know he was going to do something like that in one of the game, and that's the reason he always scored.
Well, it seems like 4GG didn't do his homework because it looks like that's a typical thing for you to scout, to play very carefully, to stay in your base. But in Game 5, I didn't know how it was going to go. It was so close right to the very end. When did you realize that you had Game 5 in your pocket?
이제 마지막 판에 거의 비슷하게 했는데 어느 쪽에 이제 이긴 느낌이 들었어요.
일단 제가 세 번째 멀티 쪽을 계속 집요하게 노려가지고 가스를 좀 못 캐게 했어요. 그래가지고 그때부터 제가 유리하다고 생각했는데 갑자기 지수형 병력이 엄청 많이 나와가지고 당황했는데 그게 다행히 그 7시 쪽에 있던 병력들이 살아남아서 후속 병력을 끊어줬던 게 가장 중요했던 것 같아요.
He really was worried when he at his third base because he was saving a lot of gas waiting. But when he saw the army of the 4GG, he started to be worried. But then saw that he doesn't has too much, and then start to feel more relaxed.
Well, TaeJa, this is your third championship in 3 months. How do you feel? Do you have anything that you want to say to all your fans?
네, 세 번째로 이 큰 경기를 우승하게 됐는데 어떻게 느끼고 이제 팬분들한테 말하고 싶은 거 팬들한테.
일단 좀 드림핵 오기 전에 제가 GSL 8강을 끝내고 와가지고 16강을 끝내고 와가지고 기분 좋은 상태로 왔는데 이렇게 우승하게 돼서 더 좋고요. 한국은 지금 아침일 텐데 지금까지 계속 봐주셔서 감사합니다.
He came here very happy because he was having good results in the GSL, and now he have won DreamHack, and he want to send especially to the Korean viewers. In Korean is very late now, but we want to thank them too.
Thank you to everyone who stuck with TaeJa and watched this tournament to the very end. It was a long show, and now it is time to claim the spoils of war. So, sir, please join me. You've worked hard, and now you have qualified for DreamHack Winter. Joining us on stage is Robert Olin, boss DreamHack. And it is his distinct pleasure to award our second place participant, also qualified for DreamHack Winter, with 40,000 Swedish kroner. And our first place finisher, TaeJa, step forward and accept your check for 70,000 Swedish kroner, more than 10,000 US dollars. Also, the DreamHack ISO Open Valencia trophy. And that is not all. It would not be a DreamHack final, and you would not be a DreamHack champion without champagne showers. Well, here, I'll take your check for you. I'll take your trophy. I'll take these home. That's fine. It's all you now, TaeJa.
Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style. Sexy lady. 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 Oppan Gangnam Style.
Congratulations, TaeJa.